gentlemen. Thank you, Aynsley. I really enjoyed that. That bridge pickup is just something else. We were saying that, me and Nev. And by the way, we're also welcoming to the stage Neville Marten, a dear colleague of mine and editor of Guitarist for many years, and Guitar Techniques. Please welcome him to the stage.
They wheeled me out.
Okay, so no discussion of guitars is really, worth a damn unless you've heard them as well. So thank you so much to Aynsley for coming down. He's literally flew in at 2 in the morning last night and still came down to be with us tonight. So thank you so much for that, and I really enjoyed that. We began with a 1958 Les Paul Standard because that's where the story of the burst starts, really. And this particular one is it's one of the cleanest I've ever seen. As you can see, it looks almost new. Its cherry sunburst is still there, seemingly unfaded. We thought it would be a lovely one to start with. So what we're going to do is we're going to put guitars in Aynsley's hands. We're going to talk about the history of the burst. There may be some things that you already know, that hopefully some things that you're maybe less aware of as we walk through the history, guitar by guitar, from 1958 to 1960. So without further ado, I think we're going to swap out this lovely 1958 Les Paul Standard for a second 58 that we have here, if Ben will kindly do the honours, and talk about some of the things that defined the first bursts. And as we're sort of handing over guitars, I thought we'd start with some kind of sort of basic information about how the burst came to be. So, by most estimates, about 1,200 were made between 1958 and 1960. If you take the whole span from 1958 to 1960 of all Les Pauls, including Goldtops, that number's like 1,700. And the reason is that the burst didn't come in at the start of 1958. It sort of came on later in the year. And some of the features that characterise the first Les Paul standards, because prior to that the Goldtop was known as the Les Paul model, are a thick neck profile. The pickup bobbins are generally what are known as double blacks, so that's the butyrate plastic bobbins that the pickups are wound with. The heel is larger than in some of the bursts that followed, the 59s and 60s, and it has a sort of smaller fret size. So to kick things off, I mean, Aynsley, what's your first impressions of the 58 you just played?
Yeah, really good. So I would, it's just, when you back off, I was off on the neck pickup for a good chunk of the first part of the few songs I did, and you back it off, it's just got this kind of clarity to it, and then when you turn it up, it kind of just barks back at you, but it's just clear. And then when I went onto the bridge pickup, it kind of like grabs you by the neck and kind of does that, and makes you play like that as well. So, they're like kind of a light. Well, that one was like it's like alive in your hands, kind of thing.
You definitely turned into Beano Man when you got on the.
Yeah, it does make you play in a certain way, especially if you hear a certain tone. I mean, the bridge pickup on that, it was kind of really bitey, but it had this kind of like fuzziness to it as well. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
And we were saying, we were literally, I mean, this is the funny thing, we're all gathered here today because we love guitars, and Nev and I couldn't help but look at each other when you flipped onto the bridge pickup, because it's that sound, isn't it?
It's that sound, and it made me go for those like Beano kind of like blues breaker kind of things, you know.
Yeah, and you know, we've got a Fillmore 50 amp here. It's not the amp that Clapton played through, but instantly, you know, that guitar's imposed its character on the amp, hasn't it, in the best possible way. Nev, what do you associate a 58 Les Paul standard with? What's your sort of feelings about that?
Well, I come from the era when you'd look at the Melody Maker every Friday or whatever day it came out, and you'd look at the ads in orange, and they were 350 quid. That's what I think mostly about them. And you think 350 quid, that's, you know, it's less than a week's salary for many people these days. Back then, it might as well have been £1 million. Because 350 quid for me in 1968, 69, when I was seeing those ads, it could have been £1 million because I couldn't get anywhere near that. I think my dad earned 8 guineas a week. in around that time. So it was kind of, that was my abiding thing. And I just used to look at them. There was a certain picture of Peter Green. It was on the front of, I think it was Beat Instrumental Mag. And you could see the Les Paul. And the shot was taken from slightly up. So you could see into the cutaway. And you could see the binding, how it went round. And I'd never seen that before. Because I'd never seen a Les Paul, even a modern one. And so to see that was like, oh my God, that's what that is, and it's just really, really weird. And obviously, 58s, we heard that Peter's was a 58. That seemed to, we didn't really, and I don't, and people of my age, I don't know if you're the same, we didn't really hear about 59s. It was all about 58 Les Paul. And so we thought they were all 58. I thought they were all 58.
Yeah.
But it was that sound, it was that Peter Green sound, the Beano, I mentioned Beano, the John Mayall Blues Breakers with Eric Clapton. That sound that Aynsley had, it's clear, it's crystal clear. It's not Thin Lizzy 1970s, Les Paul Customs, that big fat express train, you can't stop it thing. It's dynamic, and I think that's what you get with a vintage guitar of caliber.
So what we've switched to another 58 here, and what's notable about this one is that it's actually quite an early one. So the serial number of this 58 is 85515, which puts it really quite early in the whole pantheon of bursts, really. The neck pickup and the bridge pickup are both around 7.3K, and we can speak about the paths that were fitted to bursts running from no lower than 7K and no higher than 9K. So these are kind of on the slightly lower side, you might say. So Aynsley, should we turn this up and give it a little whirl?
Yeah, sure. What's your ears? So that's the neck up full, but it's still got like loads of like to it, isn't it? It's kind of not like that kind of in contrast to some sort of later Les Pauls, which you get that kind of fluty thing, That's great. Should we try the bridge?
Yeah, let's try it.
Right, I'll back it off first. It's almost like it's quite single coily, isn't it?
Yes.
Can I say that?
I think you can say that.
It's quite Billy Gibbonsy. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's ridiculous. Can you do that again, please? Because that was just brilliant.
Hang on. Yeah.
we could just sit and do that, for the rest of the evening, and I'd be quite happy.
Can I just ask something? You haven't ever, in this demo, played both pickups on, have you?
No.
Could you try that for me, please?
Should I do it?
Because it's one of my favourite sounds on any guitar.
Do that thing.
Really? Okay. Right. Well, I'll tell you what. Shall I?
Do the old trick of having them both flat out and then knock the bass pickup, the neck pickup down to about 8.
Bass pickup? Is that what we call it? That's what they used to call it, isn't
Bass
it?
and treble,
Bass,
yeah.
right. Okay. Right. So what do?
Put them both flat out.
They're both on 11.
Yeah, and then the neck pickup down to about 7.5, 8.
About there.
Then it gets louder. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the best tone on a Gibson Les Paul. Thank you.
This is what I think about bursts, because they're so valuable. They're the holy grail and this sort of thing, and you almost want not to like them because they're so vaunted. But then you hear that and you go, it's all absolutely true. So just a quick one. I mean, you switched from 158 to the other. What's your impressions on the neck on both of them? Because these are known for slightly fuller necks, the 58s.
Yeah. So this is it's got a good good chunky kind of. Yeah. I mean, I've got quite big hands, so I actually struggle with necks that are sort of a bit thinner. But yeah, they're both quite full feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the sounds are incredible, and whilst most people think of the 59 as the sort of classic these days, it's interesting that you were saying that in the beginning that wasn't the icon the 58 was. What is kind of a defining feature of the burst by its very nature is, of course, that sunburst finish. So perhaps we can have a little word about that. So if we sort of go back through the layers of the finish. The first finish is yellow pigment mixed with lacquer, and while I was sort of reading up on this, what I thought was interesting is the difference between pigment and dye-based colorants. So pigment, I'm going to go right down the rabbit hole for a moment here. Pigment is a sort of larger particle, and dye-based colorants have a smaller colorant particle. And the effect of that is that pigments tend to be more stable and they persist longer. So the yellow pigment mixed with lacquer that is the base coat, which is designed to make the white maple of the top kind of shine and look beautiful and reflect the light. That's the last thing to fade on these. So when you see a sort of unburst or a burst that's lost all of its sunburst, that yellow kind of honey tint is the last thing that goes, and that's because of it's a pigment-based colorant. The sort of red dye-based colorant around the edge, which the sunburst is done with, which is really strong on here, a little bit less so on that. What may not be apparent looking at it, there's a little bit of blue in it as well, and this adds depth to the colour. And the red is the first thing to go. So this fades with UV, it fades with effects with sort of sweat and things like that. And what that means is a little bit like turning leaves in autumn time. The red goes first, and then you get weird interference effects with the blue and the yellow, and then finally the top coat of nitro, which itself yellows over time. So this is why we end up with this whole kind of spectrum of bursts from vivid and almost original kind of showroom look to ones which have faded a bit more. So that's the first thing to say about bursts. I mean, Nev, what's your thoughts on that? Do you have a particular favourite look for sunbursts?
I totally do. I can walk into a shop and they got 20 Les Pauls on the wall, and I go, no, yes, possible, and that's my first thing. And I'm pathetic. It's really terrible, but I don't even want to try the ones that I don't like the look of. And I'm hoping that the ones I do like the look of sound good. but I don't like. I mean, I don't mind actually. These days, I'm starting to like the vivid cherry, because that's how they were. That's what they were designed to be like. All these variants, all these tea bursts, and all these other lemon drop things that we hear about. All these invented names for colours that never existed. They're all variations of, as Jamie says, the fading that happens with ultraviolet, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the middle thing, when they've gone just a bit faded. But I don't like the completely washed out ones very much.
Yeah.
You didn't need to know that, but I've told you anyway.
I think this is one of the things about the mystique of the burst, is that everybody's got a favourite version of it. You know, be that the figuring on the top.
I give my theory to lots of guitarists, and they all say the same, but theirs is different to mine, and that's one of the other great things about Les Paul customs. Some standards is that everybody has a favourite type.
So, what's your impression of these? Just picking them up.
In terms of weight?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some heft to it, but, I mean, I'm sat down, so it's a different thing. If I was stood up, you'd notice it more. But once it's kind of there, you don't really notice it, and it kind of feels solid. I mean, is this one? I guess they're around the same. I mean, I've never actually weighed a guitar in my life, if I'm honest.
Yes,
with you.
it's a bit of a weird thing to do.
If you like, yeah. I think people get really hung up on weight, but yeah, it's got some heft to it, but that wouldn't bother me. I'd take this.
Go. I think we all would. Go on, give us another blast on that bridge pickup, just because it's so cool.
On the bridge.
Sorry, I'm
bridge,
glutton for punishment.
Right, hang on. Right, what do you want me to play?
Just give us a bit of a lead sound, I would say.
Bit of what?
Something, a bit of a sort of screaming lead sound, something a bit hotter, maybe.
Okay. Right, what do you read?
Listening to that, you needn't almost ask any questions about why the sort of British blues explosion was so exciting, because in the hands of an amazing player, I mean, what's more thrilling than that sound? I mean,
there isn't, and the great thing is it's still clean. Essentially, it's still clean, isn't it?
It's got some real
It's it's got a life, but it's essentially clean. It's not distorted.
Yeah. But like you say, it's not got that kind of... I mean, both these guitars, obviously it's the only two we tried so far, but both these guitars, they haven't got that kind of steamrolly, just compressed, fuzzy, buzzy kind of...
No.
Like you say, maybe sort of 70s type later on when, I suppose pickups got a bit hotter. But yeah, it's got a real, I mean, acoustically, I mean, you won't be able to hear this, but the jangle kind of comes through as well. And I mean, I've not even touched the tones yet. What happens if we do that? That's really, it kind of takes a tiny bit off, but it's steady. It's not like suddenly night and day. So the controls are lovely, actually. Yeah, very responsive.
so I mean, sorry, now if you're about to weigh in. I mean, before we move on to some other guitars, one thing that I was told by a restorer who's seen a few 58s was that a very subtle thing that you can sometimes notice with 58s is that the centre join between the two halves of the maple top is sometimes slightly off-centre, and that's one feature of the earlier ones. I'm not sure if either of these represent that, but that I thought was quite interesting. And I mean, would you agree with this, Nev, that generally they're known for being slightly less figured than the 59s and maybe some of the 60s that followed?
Yeah, I mean, the collector guys here will know millions times more than I do, but I think that's probably true. But there used to be the odd one that just came out and it was as flamey as hell, and the others were completely bereft of any figuring at all. I think we've got a fairly plain top one here as well. But I've heard, again, the collectors will tell me better, but some people say the plain ones sometimes sound better than the figured ones. It's all snake oil, really. But the main thing is, you pick it up, do you like it? Does it sound great? That sounds great.
Okay.